Good evening and welcome to Oshkosh West High School here for the matchup between West Wildcats and the Oshkosh North Spartans. I'm Christine Yornstall alongside Hunter Vaughn, and tonight I think it's a good rivalry game. Nothing really to play for either of these teams, and I think that's really good for them as they're gearing up to play in the tournament coming in a few weeks.
Yeah, the tournament for both of these teams on the girls' side of things start out this on February 22nd. We already know the seedings for both of these teams, but the big thing, your message, whether you're either of the team's head coach, whether you're Jamie Engine for the Oshkosh North Spartans or your head coach, Coach Phillips for the West Wildcats, you want to be playing your best basketball coming into the end of February, going into this tournament coming up. And the two players I'd look out for, first the visiting North Spartans, number 22, Emma Lieb. She's averaging 11.5 points per game, 7 rebounds per game. But in their matchup, even though the team got the win for the Spartans, 69-37, she only had 5 points. You need more from her going into the tournament. She's got to have a good game, get some confidence going into the tournament. And then for the host, Oshkosh West Wildcats, number 22, Kirsten McNutty. She's 6'2" as a sophomore forward. It's a tall-ass task, a sophomore, to kind of lead your team. West has struggled so far this year, but if that 6'2" forward in McNutty can get going for this West team, they can be an incredibly dangerous squad. I mean, at 6'2" at the high school level for girls basketball, that's like having a 7-footer in the college level at a D1 men's size. That is an absolutely huge, big man to have down in the post for a team. So if they can get McGuddy going early for this West squad, she could at least keep this game close. But I really like this Spartans team. I really like the Spartans team to make a run into the postseason. They're a 6th seed coming in to the WIAA tournament. There's a possibility we could maybe see them have a chance to be playing up in Green Bay for a state championship. That's how good I think this North team can be if everything is firing at the same time. And that's the struggle for North when they've lost some of these close games this year. They've had 3 of their 5 losses be single-digit losses on the season.
Yeah, and even though the Spartans have a smaller team compared to most high schools, they're definitely playing well together. You have a lot of senior leadership, and I think that's what's been important for them and why they're doing so well. As we get ready for tip-off, West looks like they will control the ball first. That was Ella Tigret who grabbed it for West to start off for tip-off.
The Spartans early on going with a 1-3-1 zone. You want to try and trap up onto those corners in the wing when you're running that zone, but that's going to be the open shot if they can get passes into the corner for the Wildcats and they can hit those threes early on.
Yeah, for the 3 there, Lauren Olnick, guard, 5'6". North will get the chance to take the ball down the court, and driving into the paint, couldn't quite get it up and in there, was Bree Gaither, 5'11" senior, averaging 7.1 points per game.
That was a good shot that time, even though it was a miss for West. Driving into the paint, that's one of the things you want to do with the zone. You either need to drive, penetrate inside, or get quick passes to try and pull them out of that zone defense. And now a fast break for West.
Going to launch another 3 from Lauren Olnick. Misses that one. They were able to get the rebound, but Spartans are in control as the Wildcats lead 3-0, 16:37 left in this first half. Spartans trying to look forward to get their points on the board for Ashley Wisnick, one of my players to watch tonight, number 3, averaging 14.7 points per game, and that's quite an impressive feat in high school.
That is, especially, and there's a steal, beautiful steal, cutting off a lazy pass that time, getting the points. That's Brooke Elstad. But again, 14 points per game as she gets another steal. Does Elstad already got 2 steals and 4 points. Suddenly the Spartans on top. But playing in the FVA, this is one of the top conferences at any level in the entire state for pretty much every sport. So to be able to average even into the double digits, you're a very good basketball player if you're able to do that on guys or the girls side of things. An absolutely outstanding player. The leader for this North squad is Wisnick.
Ball is stripped away from the Spartans. West will maintain control. That's Castilla Rochenbaker 5'8" junior, averaging 12.8 points per game, averages 5.1 rebounds per game as well. But both these teams are really playing scrappy right off the bat.
And that's what you see a lot of times in these rivalry games. I mean, these players, they've been playing each other since middle school, even probably elementary school, traveling ball. They know each other incredibly well. They probably even at sometimes hang out in the summer and play together over at the Y. So it's definitely, you know each other's games so well. So you start to play even more physical. It's kind of like when you're playing, ball in the driveway with your siblings.
First foul of the game called. Bree Gaither will go to the line.
That was Tigert, the junior forward for the West Wildcats, picking up that first foul.
She'll shoot one more, made the first one. Spartans lead by 2, 5-3 over the West Wildcats.
Yet another steal.
It's like Brooke Elstad sees where the ball is going to go before it happens.
Well, and part of that is some of these passes from Oshkosh West, they've been a little bit lazy, like I said earlier, just kind of lobbing the passes over to their teammates across the court. If you do that against a good team, and as we've seen a good defensive player in Brooke Elstad, she's going to jump all over that. I mean, she's only a sophomore, but she's clearly one of the more athletic players out there on the floor.
Wisnick tried to launch up a 3 off the rim, no good. 14:40 left in the first half. Spartans 5, West 3. West gets the rebound.
That was just a prayer shot being thrown up there. Didn't really have an outlet pass to go with. Just tried to get something up onto the rim that time. Because I think otherwise, Baker, she kind of realized if I don't throw something up here, I'm going to get called for a travel. So just try and hope you can catch the rim and see if maybe somebody can get a rebound or you get lucky and get the finger roll.
Spartans get the inbound. Kind of taking their time getting across the half court.
And that's because West has switched now to a full court press they did that time on the inbound, and that you've got to have good ball handlers to be able to get across that timeline quickly.
West trying to tie this game back up.
And that's the second 3 now for Oljnik.
And surprisingly, coming into this game, she only had 3.6 points per game. So to launch a couple threes right away, wow.
Well, and I think that's kind of a product of, she hasn't been the main scorer for this West team coming in, but when you know that North is going to be playing this 1-3-1 zone, that opens you up on those corner threes, and if you've got somebody who, in practice can hit a lot of them, and, North probably wasn't expecting to see a lot of corner threes fired up from West, and especially when West kind of struggled from beyond the arc, hitting 2 of 22 in their first meeting. You don't really expect to have to defend that a whole lot your second time around.
Right. Spartans working around the three-point arc. They're going to drive into the paint. Pass inside was just miscommunicated.
I thought that ball got tipped there, but official saying that was out on the Spartans, and this is exactly what you don't want if you're Oshkosh North. Right now, coming into tonight, 13-7 on the year. You're the favorite team to win this game, and you're only up by 1 right now, 13-12 to go here in the first half. I know there's a lot of basketball yet to be played, but it's still, you're a team like Oshkosh North, you, like I said, try to get a possible trip up to Green Bay for a state championship, because that's the level of play you can get out of this team. And, they just haven't quite been on their game yet. It's not like they had a long journey. It's maybe a 10-minute drive from Oshkosh North here to West High School. So it's got to be a frustrating opening couple of minutes here for head coach Jamie Egan.
West looking to try to get
That'll
ahead
be a
for
jump
once.
Ball. That was good heads-up play for Haley Mraz. seeing the ball on the floor there, getting the tie up.
Megan Gruss.
Oh, that was a great bounce pass
yeah.
into the paint. Problem was it was just such a hard pass because you need those bounce passes to be incredibly hard to be able to get them to your teammate in time. That I just don't think that time Sage Turner was quite expecting the ball as quickly as it came and couldn't quite get her hands on it.
Missed three-point attempt by Wisnick. Spartans able to get their own rebound. Driving in was Leader. She also averages 11.5 points per game. So a lot of this Spartans team in double digits for points per game. And right now we're not really seeing that as Spartans only ahead 9-8 over the Wildcats. 12:05 left to go in this first half.
And this is the opportunity now for Oshkosh North where the damage for West has been done in particular by Lauren Oljanek, those 2 threes to give them 6 of their 8 points for the Wildcats. She's not on the floor now for Oshkosh West. So this is your opportunity. If all of a sudden Oljanek's going to have a crazy game tonight, you've got to be able to put up some points when she has to be on the bench and rest.
A couple players getting tied up for the ball in the last play. Possession goes to the Wildcats.
See, if you're the Wildcats there, you can't let that happen. You had 3 players down on that block to get that rebound. Somebody's got to be aggressive. You can't let somebody just all of a sudden come tearing in. I mean, that was great effort from Sage Turner. I don't want to take anything away from her, but there's no reason she should have been the one even getting her hands on that ball. That was kind of the same thing there is on that rebound, that ball getting tipped out of bounds. It's going to stay with West. You had 3 players there. You got to box out, play some physical basketball down low, especially when you're down by 1 to a very good Oshkosh North team.
And especially, like you said, these players have probably played each other for a really long time. So you think they should know each other and how they play by now, whether it's on traveling teams, school teams. They should know how to play each other. Spartans able to pick up the rebound. Wisnick charging down fast. Stripped away.
That was great defense to get that trap. Oh, this should be an easy bucket. Oh, beautiful defense the other way. And that's been the story really early on here in this half. Some great defensive plays from both teams, getting the trap in the corner on Wisnick, and then the other way coming back to force a contested layup, and it ended up being a missed layup.
Right, and that tells me they took a really good look at Wisnick and said, hey, there's a player we need to stop tonight.
And even though it is 9-8 right now, 10:38 left to go here in this first half of action, you know, I'm the kind of guy, I absolutely loved the Super Bowl a couple of weeks ago with the low-scoring type of games. I love these defensive battles going on in a game, so I absolutely love this because, again, defense is what's going to win you games late into the season. West has been showing they can play good defense. Now it's just a matter of can they continually do this for the remainder of this game, as there's still about 28 minutes left to go in this entire game. We're only about 8 minutes in.
Easy pass into the paint from Elstad to Geither. Easy 2 points there. Spartans extend their lead, 11-8.
Now you don't need a 3 if you're Oshkosh West. I know you'd like to get one and just tie the game back up. That'll be an over and back. That's what that 1-3-1 can do with the trap. You had Elstad up top again, able to push her man all the way back to the timeline, force that over and back. But like I was saying, early on in the game, as much as you'd love to just tie it up right away, you just got to go and try and get an easy bucket. You haven't had a basket for a while here if you're Oshkosh West.
Like we got a foul called. That was on Morgan Gary, 5'9" junior, number 4.
That time for Gary, I mean, she's just trying to play the ball there. That's a foul you're okay with. Then there's a travel up top. But early on in a game like this for West, I mean, they do have a little bit of foul trouble going. Nobody has multiple fouls quite yet for West, but you do have 5 fouls compared to just the 1 for the Spartans. So that is something to keep an eye on as players have gotten some early fouls here for West, but nobody really in any foul trouble. Just as a team, they're kind of having some struggles there. Then turning the ball back over, and this is a stretch now. If you're West, you've got to be careful. This is how things kind of spiral out of control in a game. You've had the foul there, and now a turnover on back-to-back possessions for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and this is where a team like North, who can turn around and extend their lead already, is they're up 11-8, but they can continue to work on it and over the costly mistakes that West keeps making.
There's another mistake by West.
Wisnick going to take it in herself, driving into the paint, and she gets it for 2.
And that's a bucket Wisnick really needed. That's her first bucket of the game. She's missed a couple of threes, hasn't been off by much, and plus she had a turnover here as well, getting trapped in the corner. So for her to get a 2, that could be the spark she needs to get going.
West tried to launch that up for a 3, couldn't make that one as well. So here come the Spartans on the charge again. Ball stripped away, though, by West.
And West has had some good moments on defense, and as well as getting some open shots. They did have those 2 corner threes early on for the Wildcats, but now can they string together multiple good plays, both defensively and offensively, to keep them in the game? Down by 5 right now, 13-8. They've got to be able to do that to keep this from getting out of control early on. Good jump pass.
Yeah, West kind of taking their time, and that one's drained for 3.
And that's what can get frustrating now for Oshkosh North, is you've played really well, and, you know, to be honest, probably outplayed West here early on in this first half, but you're only up by 2. So it's got to be at least a good feeling now, too, then on the other side, if you're the home team in Oshkosh West, as there's an air ball.
Elena Milos missed the mark on that one. West has a chance to tie it or to get into the lead.
Oh, that just an unlucky break. Still able to tie it up. It was a good rebound from Schlotthauer, 5'11" guard she's listed at.
Excellent block there by West. They just shut Nadia Griffin down.
That's where the height of Oshkosh West can really come into play. We saw the missed 3, get the layup, and then you see on the replay that block. Probably could have been, if they could do it. I know they don't do it in basketball, but it really probably should be a half a block for both players that time for West.
Yeah, and it looked like Kirsten McNulty was there to help with that 6'2". That height advantage is huge against Griffin, who's only 5'4". So that block was huge, and I think that'll help the momentum for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and like we said, I mean, it's a tied game right now, but the Wildcats with 5 fouls, they've kind of been the team that it seemed like has struggled more, but they're still tied in this game. And that's a great sign for the Oshkosh West Wildcats and their fans here tonight to be tied up with 7:40 to go here in the first half with this Oshkosh North team.
Just some miscommunication there on the pass. Our leader was able to take it down for the Spartans. Emma Lieb launches that one for 3.
That's the problem with this North, defending this North team offensively. We've seen North drive in a number of times, and then all of a sudden you get that defense to suck into the paint. They start turning their head around if they're supposed to be defending in the backcourt. And the next thing you know, there's a guard at the top of the key wide open for an easy 3.
7:07 left in this first half. Spartans lead 16-13 over the Wildcats. For a team that's struggled so far this season, I think the Wildcats are putting on an impressive display.
Especially compared to the first time that these two teams met. They didn't shoot very well. There's a great runner to get another bucket, and one of the stats that really stood out for me was the fact that Oshkosh West from the field, they were 10-27 in their first meeting when they lost 69-37. North, just from the free throw line, was 18 of 27. So they almost outscored or equaled the score of the Wildcats just from the free throw line. You can't expect to win games if your opponent's going to be hitting that many free throws against you. So that's where if West can limit the free throw attempts, I think they'll have a chance to be able to stay in the game, because that's really what hurt them. That along with shooting 2 of 22 from beyond the arc.
Wildcats now lead 17-16 over the Spartans. 6:14 left in the first. The foul's called on the Wildcats.
And I'm a little surprised that was a foul, only because at 6'2", Kirsten McNulty, I mean, she's 6'2", going up against a smaller player that time in Gother. And see here, it looked like initially she was staying vertical, and now seeing the replay there, great job on the camera work that time. You saw just a little bit of hand on the wrist to get that foul, but from up here where we're seated, it did look like she was vertical and playing it the proper way. And that's why I'm not a referee.
That's why we just call a game.
Yes. I get the benefit of replay, so I can be like, oh, no, see, it was actually a good call.
Quick foul going the other way. West will be able to get the ball here. So they're only down by 1. Spartans 18, Wildcats 17.
Right now, still leading the scoring for West is Oljanik, as there's a steal.
That's Elstad again. Elstad, man, she's doing good with the steals.
Elstad with 6 points, and I'm almost positive all 3 of those buckets for Elstad have come off of steals. There's another steal for North.
That was a good read by El Leader, 5'9" senior. West tries to respond off the rim. Rebound picked up by the Spartans.
I think that was an ill-advised shot, only because, you know, at the time you're still only down by 5. You don't need to be firing up threes if you're West. You have a height advantage on this Spartan squad. Get the ball down into the paint. Get some paint touches for your big forwards, and just try and slow things down a little bit, because when you start to try to work fast against a team like North that's going to be pressing a lot, then what starts to happen is if you're not 100% crisp on every single pass and every single shot attempt, that's where, like I said, things can all of a sudden spiral out of control, like it's kind of been happening now in about the last minute and a half or so of game time.
Spartans, taking your advice, kind of looking for options in the paint, decide to go back up to the three-point arc. Leader. Leader's going to try to spin move off the backboard, and that's Leader for 2.
And that's just so tough. That was solid defense that time from West, but ball rattling around on the rim, still able to fall in. There's not much you can ask if you're a head coach of your team defensively. They did everything they needed to that time. Here's that trap again with that 1-3-1 zone that North just loves to run. And like I said, you've got to have really good ball handlers, and it has to be quick, crisp passing to be able to deal with any zone defense.
Spartans lead 24-17. 4:07 left to go in this first half.
There's McNulty on the missed shot, but she had to take that shot quickly. That was right where you want her to be getting the ball, on that low block. But again, when the defense is closing in, even at 6'2", you still have to be able to get that shot up quickly, otherwise it's going to get taken away.
West tries to launch up a 3 and drains it.
It looks like the 3 is going to be what will keep Oshkosh West into this game. So that's their 4th 3 now, as they only trail by 4. But North responds with another 3 of their own. Elstad almost had another steal. This is where you need to get some movement on these inbound passes if you're West, as they did there a little bit when Elstad's had all of these steals off of the inbound passes after made baskets. from North. You need to be able to get some movement, not let her just stand in between your two intended passers.
West is getting a little bit trapped, but there's another three.
That's the first bucket for McNulty, and that's going to be tough if the 6'2 forward, who's normally going to be playing in the paint for West, all of a sudden is stepping out and hitting threes. You know, if you're a big D1 basketball fan with the Badgers, you saw when Frank the Tank was there at Wisconsin, he could do that every now and again, and that's what makes it so tough, because then instead of just being able to say, okay, we'll put somebody who's just as big down inside under the basket to defend down low, you can't do that, because then if you have a solid athlete who can hit threes from that position, suddenly they're stepping out. You have to defend the entire floor.
And there was another good block by Kirsten McNulty, just using her height to her advantage. Spartans are able to maintain the possession on the jump ball.
That should just be a 2.
Yeah.
That's just a little bit of floor awareness. That ball was just, her feet were just barely inside the arc, and that's where you've got to just kind of know exactly where you are on the floor. Move back about 6 inches, you'd be fine. Wide open 3, and if you can hit the ball, hit a bucket from right on top of the three-point line, you should be able to hit one from 6 inches further back.
Exactly. Spartans are up 29-23, 2:11 left in this first half. Thought McNulty was going to launch up another 3 there.
If she did, that would have been a moment where, as a head coach, you're just kind of like, no, please don't do that with 2 defenders right there. And it looks like this should be a foul on North.
I believe the foul might be on Turner.
Yeah, Turner got a little bit of a push in the back that time, trying to go for that rebound. And that's the problem with these games. You start getting really physical, and Turner's going to head to the bench with 3 fouls. I wouldn't expect to see Turner back until maybe about inside 10 minutes left to go in this game, whereas we're inside 2 minutes left to go at the half.
Ball's almost stripped away. McNulty finds Lang. Lang goes back to Nolte. Nolte goes up for 2, and that's in and out. Rebound by the Spartans. Spartans will have to go quickly to get across the half court. Griffin. Wisnick's going to launch for 3, and she makes that one.
And that's where, as a defender for Gear that time, you've got to stay out on Wisnick. I'd rather give up a 2 than a 3 to Wisnick, and now it's a 9-point game all of a sudden.
Foul's going to be called on the Spartans as McNulty.
McNulty showing her height that time, just plucking that ball out of the air before anybody else had a chance. You see there that open 3 from Wisnick. That's, again, I'd rather, if I'm a coach, I'd rather see my defender keep a 3-point shooter covered up and give up a 2 than give up that extra point with a wide open 3 to the team's best player.
Exactly.
Roach and Baker.
Yep.
She's fired up a couple of them, and she hasn't been off when she's missed, so confidence still there for her. That's a good sign to see, because sometimes with shooters, if you miss a couple early on in a game, even if they're close misses, you start to kind of question yourself and not want to fire those up. She was fearless that time, just firing up another one because she saw she had the open shot.
Right, and it was a beautiful shot, too.
West should hold inside 40 seconds for this last shot if they can. Oh, and that's going to be 3 free throws coming up now. Not a good foul at all.
Ill-advised. May Omen will go to the line to shoot 3.
Especially, you're up by 6 right now, 32-26. There's 31 seconds left to go. And definitely caught a little bit of a break that time. You see there that foul on the follow-through. That was Mraz on the foul. That's a spot where you came incredibly close to possibly giving up or making this now a 3-point game with 31 seconds left. Not a spot you wanted to be in. It's still a 4-point game now.
Right.
This was still that you're this late in the game, in the first half, let that 3 go up. You know, you don't want to be putting yourself or your teammates in a bad spot, because all of a sudden, you know, if you remember, it was 5 fouls to 1 foul. Now the Spartans put up a number of fouls here late in this first half. They've got a little bit of foul trouble growing now with 7 fouls to 6 fouls for the Wildcats.
Yeah, and that'll be interesting to see how that plays through the rest of this half and going into the second half, and how much that'll affect this game. As you know, you see a player like Sage Turner have already 3 fouls, dangerously close to foul trouble. So, you know, you wonder how that's going to be a factor.
And this is where, as a head coach, you have to know your players. I personally, if I was a head coach, Sage Turner, as great of a player as she is, I wouldn't put her back out on the floor until well into the second half, just to be safe, because I'd rather have her coming in late in the game to be able to play with just the 2 fouls. You see North passing up an open 3 attempt that time, did Griffin, to try and bleed this clock down inside 10 seconds.
Leiter tried to launch that one for 2.
West is going to have to fire up a half-court shot. That's not going to get off in time. That's where that good press that time from North late to not give up another shot attempt. This could have been a 1-point game had North not pressed there late. Instead, it's 32-28.
Yeah, and I like how the Wildcats have stayed in it. And, you know, I think that's been the real test for them, is that they've been able to play with a team like Spartans, who come in and they're a very good team, but they've held it to them almost, making this game interesting.
Yeah, and especially considering their first meeting, Oshkosh West only had 37 points. They're already up to 28 tonight. You're right in this game. A short little run early on and going into the second half, all of a sudden you can have the lead again if you're Oshkosh West. West definitely winning that first half, even though they're down by 4. You still have to say, with a team with the advantage like Oshkosh North has in this game, to only be down by 4, you've got to be feeling really good about yourselves if you're Oshkosh West.
And exactly, and that's got to put a little bit of pride in you going into finishing the rest of the season. I mean, you haven't had a great season, but you're trying to get back and find your way back in the rhythm of the basketball, and I think taking away a win from North would be huge.
Yeah, again, 32-28, Spartans on top of the Wildcats. And in this first half, I wouldn't be surprised if going into the second half, we see a little bit more press coming from the Wildcats of Oshkosh West. That was something they did a little bit, and it worked out pretty well. The Spartans did a whole heck of a lot, and Brooke Elstad with a huge first half. She had 8 points, but a number of steals and a number of times where she even just forced some awkward passes for West. She's definitely in the heads of all of the guards for this Oshkosh West team. When they come back out, they'll be playing again. I keep mentioning that 1-3-1 zone. She's the one right up at the top of that defense. She's the one that kind of starts all of that pressure for the defense.
Yeah, and we're going to take a break for halftime. But Oshkosh Media produces a number of municipal videos for the city of Oshkosh, so let's take a look at what's new from Oshkosh Media.
Pickup is at 8:30 in the morning. Her appointment is at 9:15, and her return should be at 10:45, and then you have her again on Monday the 18th. And you have a great rest of your day, and please drive safely. Take care. Bye-bye, hon. Bye. My name is Sandy, and I do all the scheduling for AdvoCap Volunteer Transportation. We transport a lot of children to supervised visitation with a parent. We also do a lot of transportation for our senior citizens and for veterans. We take the seniors and veterans to their medical appointments, dental appointments. And we also have expanded the program. We try to get them out into the community as much as we can. We take them grocery shopping, to the pharmacy. We've taken clients to the movies. If they want to go out to dinner with a friend, we transport them to their dinner appointments, and then we pick them up and take them back home.
Hi, I'm Frank Moletsky. I'm a driver for Advocate, a volunteer. I do this because I'm told I have to do it to get out of the house so my wife has more free time. You like to drive, and you're easygoing enough that you can talk to people on a regular basis. There's a lot of interesting stories, a lot of interesting individuals. It's a fun thing to do.
We need drivers desperately. The Advocate Transportation is funded through a grant from Winnebago County Department of Human Services. And our drivers do receive a mileage reimbursement for the amount of miles that they drive. If someone is out there, they have no idea what they can do, call us.
If you're looking for something to fill your time and meet new people and don't mind having a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, with a lot of different stories, come to see Advocate. They'll be happy to put you through the paces and see if you can qualify to drive.
All you need is the heart to give to other people, to know that you are helping someone that desperately needs to go see a doctor. If anybody is interested in becoming a driver, please pick up your phone, call Advocate, or go online and check out our website. Put yourself out there to help someone else that is in desperate need of transportation.
For far too long, animals on farms and ranches were not afforded protections to ensure their humane treatment and care. Luckily, times have changed, and more farmers are raising their animals in accordance with American Humane science-based standards, which offer ethically driven consumers humanely raised products. The next time you're in the grocery store, be sure to choose foods that are American Humane certified. To learn more, please visit americanhumane.org.
We've all seen that moment in movie credits that says no animals were harmed in the making of this film. As a film director, I rely on the 8 decades of experience American Humane brings to safeguarding animals on set. They consult on scripts, advise on locations, training, veterinary care, and so much more. As a director, nothing is more important than making sure everyone is safe, and that includes the animals on set as well. And thanks to the passionate people of American Humane, we can.
Hi, I'm Jim Michelson, Chairman of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is made up of 7 resident representatives from the city of Oshkosh. We strive to promote and encourage safe bicycle and walking as significant means of transportation in the city of Oshkosh. Our committee goals involve working towards the development of a coordinated system of safe and convenient bikeways and walkways and stimulation of public awareness through educational events. Our committee is tasked with reviewing and updating the bicycle and pedestrian circulation plan and recommend projects for funding through the city's capital improvement plan. We aim to make Oshkosh a bike and pedestrian friendly city and are making strides in protecting and growing the biking and walking population. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee and many other boards and committees who serve the city of Oshkosh are an extremely important part of our local government and community. We encourage you to consider serving on a city board or commission to help make Oshkosh a great place to live, work, and play.
Hi, I'm Tom Foytick, Chair of the Oshkosh Plan Commission. The Plan Commission is made up of 11 resident representatives from the city of Oshkosh. We strive to help the community make good planning decisions regarding growth and development in the community. Our commission has a wide variety of responsibilities, which include issuing recommendations to the Common Council on comprehensive planning, preliminary and final plats, plan developments, rezoning, and special use permits. We also advise the council regarding official mapping, street dedications and vacations, establishment of street names, purchase or sale of municipal property, capital improvement programs, various federal and state grant applications, redevelopment plans, and tax increment plans. Our main goal as a commission is to help ensure sound growth of Oshkosh through best practices in city planning. The Oshkosh Plan Commission and the many other boards and committees who serve the city of Oshkosh are an extremely important part of our local government and community. We encourage you to consider serving on a city board or commission to help make Oshkosh a great place to live, work, and play.
Hi, I'm Matt Mugrauer, Chair of the City of Oshkosh Rental Housing Advisory Board. The Rental Housing Advisory Board exists to help improve the health and safety of renters in Oshkosh. We review and make recommendations regarding city policy or changes to the municipal code pertaining to rental housing. One of our main goals is to keep landlords and tenants informed by creating and updating educational materials, as well as finding new and improved ways to make information available to those who need it most. Our board is made up of members of our community, with representation from landlords, renters, and neighborhood associations. We encourage open dialogue between city staff, landlords, and tenants, and we are confident that we can create a better rental community by working together. The Rental Housing Advisory Board and many other boards and committees who serve the city of Oshkosh are an extremely important part of our local government and community. We encourage you to consider serving on a city board or commission to help make Oshkosh a great place to live, work, and play.
Welcome back to Oshkosh West here in a rivalry matchup between Oshkosh North Spartans and the Oshkosh West Wildcats. I'm Chris Bjornstad alongside Hunter Vaughn, and so far it's been a good one and a lot of three-point attempts from both teams.
Yeah, and that's been something that, like I talked about a number of times in that first half, Oshkosh West has struggled with at times this year. They hit a number of threes. That's what's kept them in this game, only down by 4 now as we just get underway here in the second half.
West just missed the basket there. That was Reckenbaker.
North getting out in transition, didn't have the numbers, still able to drive in. And that's where I think North can kind of start to pull away in this game a little bit, especially with, we saw a number of times again, Elstad getting out in front on that defense. You see her there just going into the paint, but defensively she'll play up at the top of the key, and she can get a number of steals, get some easy fast break layups going.
As that pass is deflected by West there, forced out of bounds. Spartans will still remain possession.
Now, too, if you're the Spartans, you're up by 6. I know it's still early into this as we're just inside a minute yet still here in this second half, but I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of take their time a little bit more on offense. When they have those opportunities, like I said, off of the steals, absolutely go for them. Take the easy layups when you get them. But like right here, slow things down, bleed some clock a little bit. You don't have a shot clock like you do in the college game, so you can take all the time in the world. If you can pass the ball around for 18 minutes and a half and only put up the one shot, you have every right to be able to do that. So I think that's something that we could see a little bit more from the Spartans.
Definitely, and speaking of the threes we talked about earlier, El Leader had launched up a three before the Wildcats just got a bucket there. Spartans lead 39-30. Spartans kind of taking control of this one as they've made, I think, every bucket so far in this first part of the second half.
Wildcats did get that one bucket from McNulty on their first possession, but then haven't been able to really do much. We see nearly a turnover. It's a good job keeping the ball alive.
Stripped away, though, by the Spartans. They're going to try to go on a fast break.
Olchnik getting back for Oshkosh West, and she's had to do that a number of times, playing kind of in that two-guard spot for the Wildcats. You see, I don't think she expected Elstad to be cutting back in front of her there. I liked in the non-call, though, that time.
Yes.
And just going with the turnover because it really was incidental. There wasn't anything either player could do.
Right.
Let both of them play.
McNulty is going to try to drive in the paint, forces it back outside to Lang. Lang drives in, gets it for 2.
And Lang doing a beautiful job recognizing Elstad was coming in hard that time. Like I said, she plays up at the top of the key in this 1-3-1 zone, but she came just charging out back inside after she had gotten sucked in on a pass inside. And then Lang, seeing that happen, instead of trying to fire up a shot or do anything fancy, she got the ball and just drove right by her because she knew Elstad, as great of an athlete as she is, she's not going to be able to stop herself in time defensively. That's what led to that easy layup for the Wildcats. You see Elstad that time, back-to-back possessions. When you play that zone, you know, most people expect your back's going to be to the basket the entire time. You're facing the ball at the all times. But with that 1-3-1, Elstad there, she's got to try and cut off any cross-court passes happening. There's a made 3 that time for Rochenbaker again. She's up to 11 points, averaging 12 points per game this year, so she's well on her way to hitting her season average.
Spartans kind of passing around to each other, trying to look for an option. As Elstad tries to drive inside, forces it back out.
This has been great defense from West.
Another good rebound there by the Spartans.
Gother that time gets called for the travel, and see her kind of shake her head at herself a little bit, just trying to get up with that ball, and she had her pivot foot down there, but then you saw just picking up that left foot right at that last second as she was trying to put the shot up.
Right. Spartans still up 41-35 in this rivalry matchup. West tries to launch off a 3 and off the rebound. 2 rebounds collected by West.
There's a jump ball. That ball goes Oshkosh North's way.
Leader to inbound. West is pressing up a little bit, trying to force the Spartans to make a deep, long pass to Westnick. Just misses the basket. Elstad almost gets the rebound, but it's collected by the Wildcats.
That was a lucky break for West. North probably should have had an easy layup going that time, put themselves up by 8. Because you can't let Wisnick or Elstad, the 2 main guards for this North team, if you're going to play that press, you've got to be able to keep them at least in. You have to be in between one of them and the basket at all times. You can't let them get past you and run down. I mean, that looked like a football player, a wide receiver, just running that fly route for a deep pass.
As we see McNulty and Spartan player kind of collapse.
That
it's like her elbow hit her.
Megan Gruss, the sophomore guard that time, just took an elbow to her forehead, hit the deck kind of hard. She's going to get looked at by the trainers. That's one thing at the high school level, and then we've seen it happening in the college level. You and I covering UW Oshkosh a lot. Anytime somebody takes any sort of contact to the head in any sport now, they have a trainer over there running through, you hear it on Sundays in the NFL, that concussion protocol, making sure everything is okay, taking those head injuries very seriously.
And I think that's really important, especially for young athletes, to kind of diagnose them early, because like even in our time in high school, there weren't all those protocols and stuff. They were just getting to the concussion technology, and I took a concussion test my senior year for volleyball. But like up until then, it was just like, nobody really talked about it. But I'm glad they're taking a moment to make sure she's okay.
Yeah, and I had multiple concussions at the middle school level, and that was why I couldn't play any contact sports because of it, and had to kind of figure out another way to be around sports. And that, so it's definitely a serious matter, even with something like that where you'd see, back in the day, not to sound like a crazy old guy, but, back in the day, they would have just let that go, and you'd be like, you got your bell rung, you're fine. They're going to take that seriously, make sure that the player is okay.
Long three-point attempt by West.
And that was not a good foul that time from Rochenbacher. I know, you're trying to force those turnovers, get your team back into this game. That was her first foul, so she's okay in that department, but that's still, you just fouled somebody about 60, 70 feet away from the basket, not the spot where you want to be doing that with 13 minutes left to go, and you're down 41-35.
And speaking of somebody we thought who was in kind of foul trouble, looks like Sage Turner's back on the court.
And this is a little bit earlier than I would have thought that she would come back into the game. That's again where if you're head coach Jamie Egan, you've got to trust your players. You've got to know your players.
Right.
They've been together this whole year. He's got to know whether or not he can trust Turner to come back into a game with 3 fouls this early on with 12:50 to go, and clearly he does.
Spartans lead 41-35 over the Wildcats. 12:45 left to go in the game.
Beautiful passing from Oshkosh West that time. Just quick passes, get down the floor. Don't try to put the ball on the hardwood and do anything fancy. Get through that press and get an easy 2-point bucket. As I say that, then defensively, you can't give up an easy 2-point bucket when you're trying to crawl back in a game down by 6.
And you can't turn over the ball, and I think we've seen that kind of happen to West a little bit. But they've been doing better at collecting their rebounds.
They have, as they got one there, and that's a good 3-point shot attempt. You're okay with that, even though it didn't go in. That was the exact shot you wanted in that situation. Now there's a foul, and that's going to go against the Spartans. That's Turner's 4th. So and this is where Turner in a bad spot as we see the replay here. Getting that rebound, fighting for the ball. She did everything right, but it's just, you've got somebody else going right there. That is the right call. I know North fans aren't going to be happy about it, but now Turner with her 4th foul. This is where, unless you absolutely need her, I don't know if Turner comes back into this game at all. With 4 fouls, 0 points. You just can't risk her fouling out of a game, kind of giving any of that momentum to the Wildcats as they're, you're the road team here for Oshkosh North.
Rebound collected by the Spartans. That was Elstad.
That's going to be a foul against the Wildcats.
Just an inbound pass for the Spartans.
Lang picking up her 2nd foul, so 2 fouls for the Wildcats, 3 for the Spartans. That's Baker that time picking up her 2nd foul, both of them here in this second half. McNulty's the one heading to the bench. So Baker's going to stay out there, and this is a spot too where you've got to trust a player like a junior guard in Baker where, she picked up 2 kind of quick fouls here in this second half. There's some coaches, and I'm even kind of of the mindset, maybe think about sitting her down for even just a couple of minutes here, just to kind of cool her down a little bit to make sure that it isn't getting into her head at all, picking up 2 quick fouls.
Yeah, and there's another foul on the Wildcats. Wildcats kind of have been killing themselves right now with the fouls in quite a short span here.
And that's going to be a problem with 11:19 to go in the second half. They're already up to 4 fouls. Spartans sitting at 3, but just a couple more, and then you've got a team that's leading right now in Oshkosh North. If they can start getting to the charity stripe on a regular basis, which we saw them do in their first matchup, that'll give them the chance to be able to pull away as they now lead by 7.
They're able to strip that away.
Oh, great pass
waiting.
down low.
She should have had that bucket.
Just a little bit too hard. I think she heard the footsteps of the defenders coming.
Yep.
But North able to make up for it. Great steal and lay in that time from Mraz. There's a blocking foul, so that'll be 4 apiece now for both teams. It's the first foul on Nadia Griffin. See, again, that's the trouble with a lot of teams, this 1-3-1 zone that they're going to run, as we see the Spartans running. You start to kind of extend that out a little bit, press out into the half court, and it just causes so many headaches for the other team. Spartans with a chance to extend to a double-digit lead.
Yeah, and for them that'd be huge because, it hadn't seemed like overall that they haven't controlled this game as much as most people would have expected.
Well, and that's what I talked about in the beginning of the broadcast, is there's another steal. That's the one area where North has definitely controlled this game with the turnover battle. But if you're a team like Oshkosh North, like I said, they're going to be the 6th seed in the WIAA tournament coming up at the end of this month. And as a 6th seed, they are going to be here at home against the 11th seed Eau Claire Memorial. And then they win that game, most likely they'd be going up to Appleton East to take on the Patriots. So not really a short drive for them. A team that, in Appleton East, the Oshkosh North could beat. You want to be playing your best basketball coming into that to have a chance to be able to make a run. And right now, at least offensively, haven't quite seen it from this team. They've just had some strange miscues at times. Defensively, they've been great. They've been everything that you'd expect out of them.
Especially, you have to give credit to Elstad getting all those quick steals and making points off them. That's what you want.
And that's the thing, too, talking about going into February, and then if they can get into that second weekend of the WIAA tournament, is if you have a player like a Brooke Elstad or even Ashley Wisnick, March in tournament games, there's this weird thing that happens where if you have one player who can just take over a game offensively and defensively, the next thing you know, you're winning 2, 3, 4 games in a row and making a deep run into the tournament. To compare it to the NCAA level, when Steph Curry was at Davidson, he was really the only player they had, but he was so good, he could carry a team all the way through to win games and to kind of will his team to wins. And that's the thing that Oshkosh North really has in Elstad and Wisnick. You see there Wisnick with the steal and an easy layup.
And right now we're kind of seeing the Spartans kind of tear the Wildcats apart, per se, as they lead 50-37, and they're just forcing turnovers.
Yeah, and again, that's what, like I said, the Spartans being able to take, all of a sudden going on a run, up 50-37 with 9:10 left to go in this game. It was just a little while ago, it was only a 4-point game. It looked like West was going to be in this, but all of a sudden you get these steals like we see here from Wisnick, and she just breaks away from everybody else, able to get that layup.
Right, and I think for West, the thing is to regroup right now. You need to focus back and make sure you're not letting the Spartans kind of take over.
The Spartans, looking at the scoring, they're up 50-37, and right now with 13 points for the Spartans, you got number 23, Haley Mraz. She's averaging 7 points per game, 6 rebounds per game. That's a great, numbers for somebody who is a starter. But if she's somebody that all of a sudden can start getting up into those double digits consistently here late into the year, and then leader, she's averaging just under a point per game. She's got 10 points tonight. And as for all the talk of Elstad and Wisnick that we've had, combined, they're just up into double digits together between the two of them. They have a number of steals, but it's been other people for this North squad who've been able to kind of push this lead and help this team pull away.
West is trying desperately to get some points back here.
And that's the thing now, as with them being down 13, this is kind of inside 9 minutes now to go. Got to start maybe putting up some more threes than you would like to. That's why you see McNulty there getting the ball at the top of the key. And Baker's going to be putting up a lot more threes here in these last couple of minutes of the game. As again, they've got to try and get back into this game. And West will be still playing in the WIAA tournament. They've got to take the long trip all the way up to Chippewa Falls to take on Chippewa Falls, the 4 seed, West sitting at a 13 seed. And so it's, again, if you're West, you still have more basketball to go,
Right.
even if they can't come back into this game with just about 9 minutes left to go. That rattles out. You still have more to go. It's not like your season is done because you lost this rivalry game. They still have this game coming up at Chippewa Falls. You can still go up there, and again, it's the WIAA tournament. I keep wanting to say NCAA. I'm ready for March Madness.
You're ready.
If you can't tell. But, anything can happen in those games. I know it's a cliched thing to say, but it's so true that, like I said, all it takes is a player for Oshkosh West like Baker or Lang or McNulty to all of a sudden go off in a game. They can all of a sudden put up 20, pushing 30 points for this Oshkosh West team that could give them a chance to be able to win a game in the WIAA tournament.
Right. And with Chippewa Falls, that's a good 3.5 hour drive.
Yes.
Plus. I was in the Big Rivers Conference, and, Chippewa Falls is not a team to be messed with, but I think for West, they played an excellent first half, and now it's just finding that rhythm again and trying to get back on track and kind of take a look and say, hey, we got one more game. Let's make it the best we can ever have.
Yeah, and that's where it's again, this West team, again, trailing here by 13 as there's going to be another foul that'll be sending Turner to the line, who is back out there with 4 fouls. I'm surprised we, are seeing her back out on the floor. But this is a team for West. It's not like they have a huge number of seniors. Looking at their roster, they've got Oljanik along with Councher there for the seniors. Otherwise, it's a number of juniors and some sophomores and even some freshmen listed on this varsity roster. So this is a West team. They're kind of in that rebuild mode, if you could call it, where it's just they have a smaller senior class, and that's the one thing with high school sports. The more seniors you can have playing together as a team, it's just kind of natural. You have 4 years of playing together. You've seen so much more basketball. You know what to expect. Just your basketball IQ, to use that cliched term as well, it's just so much higher from your sophomore year all the way up to your senior year that, this team, 2-3 years, it's going to be Oshkosh West putting up big numbers and being able to be a single-digit seed going into the WIAA tournament. There's a travel, and Oljink that time just kind of getting a little too excited, picking up that pivot foot a little bit.
Yeah, and kind of taking a look. They have a tough matchup against Chippewa Falls. West will, as overall, Chippewa Falls is 16-5, 10-1 in the Big Rivers Conference.
There's a corner 3, not to completely go off topic there, but yeah, the Chippewa Falls, it feels like there's every single year it's at either Chippewa Falls, that Eau Claire Memorial, there's somebody up in that part of the state that is just always such a scary team. This year it happens to be Chippewa Falls, and those teams, I think sometimes they get forgotten up in that part of the state.
I agree.
Usually, even for whether it's boys basketball, girls basketball, everybody always wants to talk about the Madison, Milwaukee schools, and then here in the FVA. You can't discount any of those teams up north and to the western part of the state. Wisconsin is really a basketball state, so Chippewa Falls, a great team. So if you're an Oshkosh West fan, you can take the journey up there to go and see Chippewa Falls. I know it's a long trip on a Friday night to be making, but they're a very good team, and it's going to be still just a great basketball game. Oh, that was a great save. Oljanik, the senior, her last time getting to play the big rival in Oshkosh North, leaving everything out there on the floor. 2 great saves now for West to keep this ball alive. Got to try and get a 3 up, though.
And it's desperation time for West.
Yeah, especially trailing 55-39, 6:01 left here in this ball game, and this is where we're just going to see a lot of 3 attempts. You see that save again. And that's, I talked about that court awareness. You have to know exactly where you are on the floor to be able to keep those feet in bound. And it's kind of the same thing to compare it to football, when you see those wide receivers able to drag their feet. It's the same kind of principle. You almost have to somehow, while you're in a full-on sprint to be able to get to the ball, suddenly make your legs just kind of die on you to be able to then keep them in bounds while still then maintaining your body control to be able to keep the ball in.
Yeah, and even the other one we saw on the far side from us, that was another excellent save.
There's again Elstad making some trouble for West. I believe they got the timeout called that time, did West.
I think so. The officials looked to signal that way, but it seemed a little bit of a delayed call, but we will take a break. You're watching high school basketball on Oshkosh Media.
For far too long, animals on farms and ranches were not afforded protections to ensure their humane treatment and care. Luckily, times have changed, and more farmers are raising their animals in accordance with American Humane science-based standards, which offer ethically driven consumers humanely raised products. The next time you're in the grocery store, be sure to choose foods that are American Humane certified. To learn more, please visit AmericanHumane.org.
And I believe we're having some technical difficulties with Christine's headset right now. So inside 5:30 to go, 56-39. Spartans on top of the Wildcats as the Spartans hit another three, push it up to a 20-point lead. This has been a tough second half for Oshkosh West, as it was, they had 28 points in the first half and now only getting to 11 right now. There's still some time left to go, but they trail by 20. West again going to have to keep on trying to fire up some threes if they can to try and at least cut into this lead inside 5 minutes. But for the Spartans now, a little surprised Elstad is still out there and some of the other starters. And Emma Lieb as well. There was a travel. Being up by 20. You see a number, it's a full platoon swap for Oshkosh West. I'm surprised North isn't doing that as well. Try and get some players some rest. There's a deep two that looks like it's an air ball, and
Spartans still ahead. Hey, there I am. I'm back. Yay. Thank you, crew. Spartans still up 59-39. 4:15 left to go in the game. Elstad launching up a three. No good. West gets the rebound.
Oh, that was a great play from Elstad.
Really smart. Like you said, it's that court awareness. She knew where she was and she knew where her opponent was.
Now, Elstad, only a sophomore, so unfortunately for fans of Oshkosh West and the rest of the FVA, going to have to deal with her for a couple more years yet.
Good move.
Great move.
Rickon Baker.
Baker's up to 13 points now, just over her season average. She had a rough couple of minutes. She was at 11 for a long time in this game, but then just a rough couple of minutes offensively for the entire Wildcats team, where they just kind of stalled out on offense, really couldn't get anything going, and that's this pressing, just attacking defense for Oshkosh North that's just caused so many issues for West here tonight. You see that foul called. That's the 8th now on the Wildcats.
Wisnick makes that one for three. Wisnick goes up to 10 points in this game, so double digits for her.
And then this is the spot where I know maybe if you're an Oshkosh West fan, you're asking, why are they still shooting threes, everything. But it's been kind of the theme for the night, really for even when we go into the boys game after this one here tonight, that, you need to be playing absolute 100% your best basketball in this last game of the year and these last couple games of the year, and that's what North is trying to do. So if it means having to, unfortunately, run the score up a little bit on your rival here in this last game of the year on their home court, you have to do it if you're the Spartans, because you need to have your shooters feeling great going into the games next week.
Yeah, and especially because those can get tough. I mean, you get to play at home, but sometimes there's even more pressure on top of you.
Yes, because, Oshkosh North, they have a great number of fans here, and I know, again, it's just a crosstown rivalry game, but they'll have even more fans at Oshkosh North High School, I'm sure, on the 22nd as they take on, again, Eau Claire Memorial.
Eau Claire Memorial also out of the Big Rivers Conference. .256 left to go. Spartans up 62-41 over the Wildcats.
Now we've got another substitute coming on for the Spartans. Megan Gruss will check in for Oshkosh North.
Another foul called.
This is where, the game's going to try to kind of drag out a little bit, unfortunately, where if you're the Wildcats of Oshkosh West, you're going to try and get as many steals as you can, try and cut into this lead if you can. Again, they do still have another game as they're on the road at Chippewa Falls, like we said earlier. So, they want to be playing some better basketball, maybe go on a run here late, cut into this lead a little bit, but then that also then helps them to just have even more confidence going into their tournament game.
Wisnick makes both of those on the 1-and-1. And so it looks like we'll have a quick timeout. So we'll be right back after a short break.
This winter, pay attention, go slow, and stay in control while driving on Wisconsin roadways.
We're back here at Oshkosh West High School, finishing the conclusion of the girls' game. 2:42 left to go. The Oshkosh North Spartans lead 64-41 over the West Wildcats.
This was a game that Oshkosh West early on at half, they were only down by 4. It could have been a little bit worse at half. They were able to get those 2 free throws late after being fouled on a 3-point attempt. But, this West team, they hung in there as long as they could. But, again, this Oshkosh North team, they're a 6th seed going into the WIAA tournament. They're a team that is looking to try and make a deep run if they can. So just too much to handle. It's the depth that we really saw out of this Oshkosh North team, where once West kind of had to start going to their bench a little bit, that's where they started to have some struggles. And when you only have a couple of seniors on your roster, that kind of really makes things difficult then for a team like this. When you start to get down and things start to spiral out of control a little bit, you don't have that full complement of senior leadership to really be able to pull your team out of it, dig them out of it mentally, even have a senior sitting on the bench during those times to help the bench players kind of mentally stay within the game.
And you look at the team like the Spartans, they have 6 seniors on their squad, and that's huge. I mean, they've probably been playing together since elementary school, and that just builds you up as a team. And like you said, it's that senior leadership.
It is. It's the senior leadership. You have the basketball IQ with it. And in girls and boys sports at the high school level, there's just a huge difference in physicality from a freshman to a senior. I mean, those seniors, they're grown women, and if you're a sophomore having to play against that, they're just not as strong as them. That's just the absolute truth with it, and you especially see it on the guys' side. A 14-year-old having to play against an 18-year-old, that's a huge difference, and it makes things incredibly difficult to try and defend against for a full 36-minute basketball game.
Exactly. West gets a easy, nice layup in. And also, too, the Spartans had a really good start to the second half with just making every bucket. I don't think there was one miss early on.
They went on. It had to have been close to a 12-2 run early on in that second half. And it was just, that's like I talked about, things kind of spiral on you if you're Oshkosh West, and that's where it's just so tough if you don't have people who can kind of handle that and take care of things for you to be able to keep from letting things grow out of hand, as it's, a 21-point lead now inside a minute left to go for the Spartans.
Yeah, and with West, I mean, they put up a couple very good three-point attempts in the second half, but none have been compared to what we saw in the first half.
And that was one of the things where if you're Oshkosh West, it was almost a little bit of a curse that you hit those 2 threes early on in the game, because then just mentally your whole team, you start saying, okay, if we're going to hit these threes, maybe it's our night. Maybe we're just going to be on fire tonight from 3, and suddenly you're trying to put up maybe more threes than you should have. Like I said, a couple of times in that first half, they put up some 3-point attempts that were maybe a little bit questionable, a little bit too early on in a possession. Right. And then if you don't make those, you've just given a long, easy rebound for a fast team like the Spartans to get out and run, and that's what happened here tonight.
Exactly, as there's only 10 seconds left. Spartans will easily take the win here, 64-43. Unless they decide to go for one more bucket.
And then that's where, like I said, putting up those threes late in the game, I was okay with it. If they had done it there, then it would have been a whole other story. But again, 64-43. Like I kept saying, the Spartans, they're definitely in that tournament mode now. You can see it from the way they're playing defensively. Offensively, they had some struggles. You had a senior like Sage Turner. She had 4 fouls, came dangerously close to getting that 5th foul and fouling out of this game. That's something you want to watch out for. They were kind of fouling a little bit too much for my taste to be able to make a deep tournament run. But defensively, they're right where you want them to be, and this is a scary team going forward, and I would be absolutely terrified if I was another player seeing a potential game against this Oshkosh North squad.
Especially Brooke Elstad. I think she's the one to look out for. Sophomore. She's only a sophomore, and tonight she just was creating those steals and getting the points right off them.
I thought I had a typo on my game notes when I had Brooke Elstad listed as a sophomore. I saw she was averaging 11 points per game, but then seeing her play in person, I was surprised to see that she was only a sophomore with the way she played. I would have thought she was a junior or a senior. She was just absolutely outstanding defensively, as we have some highlights, and there was just some great passing from Oshkosh North, as well as some good shooting from West. They just couldn't get it consistently enough. As you see there, the steals with Elstad getting that easy layup there in the second half. It was just such a tough game for Oshkosh West to be able to hang in through the entire game.
Yeah, and that one by Wisnick there. Spartans came out defensively very well, but if you're West, you should be very proud of the first half that you played against. The Spartans being only down by 4, and yeah, you let it slip away in the second half, but they definitely ended up playing a good game here.
Yeah, and this West team, they've got a lot to build on now. Even though they did end up losing this game, like we said, only 2 seniors on their squad, you're going to get a lot of players back with a lot of experience and playing time that normally they wouldn't get, like an Oshkosh North team who's got a senior-heavy squad. They're going to get, if you're a sophomore or a junior, you don't get as much playing time. You've got sophomores and juniors for this West squad now who have gotten a lot of playing time this year. They're going to get even more in their tournament game on Friday, February 22nd at Chippewa Falls. So they're going to still be a team that next year and the year after that, this Oshkosh West team, they're going to be just as dangerous. And in particular, I talked about her a lot, but Kirsten McNulty, she's just a sophomore, 6'2", averaged just under 10 points per game this year, 4.5 rebounds per game. She's going to be somebody, too, that we could see a really interesting junior and senior year rivalry with West and North between McNulty and Elstad, and who can kind of will their team to victories in this rivalry here in Oshkosh.
Yeah, and definitely. And up next, we'll have the boys' game shortly after this. But for our crew, I'm Chris Bjornsdahl. Thanks for watching from Oshkosh West, where the final score is 64 to, I believe it was 49.
49.
We took the score down before I had a chance to write it down. So be sure to check out oshkoshmedia.org for more local content. And like Oshkosh Media on Facebook, the boys' game is coming up next. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been a presentation of Oshkosh Media.